considering that we'll be using a tkinter. For us to use tkinter, we need to import the tkinter libraries. So say tkinter import. Now we can choose to import individual functions within this library, or we can just say import everything. For now, let us just import everything. So what is interesting with Python is that at any stage of your development, you can run and see what results you're getting. And periodically, what I like to do is to save the applications as I go along developing. So in Genie, the shortcut to save is Control S. That saves the work that I've done thus far, and to execute is F5. So after executing the application, it says program exited with code 0. Press any key to continue. It means that there are no problems with the application. It executed successfully. That's basically what it means. All right. So now let us go. Let us continue to just add what we need. Now that we've imported the tkinter, we need to initialize the screen. In other words, we need to create the canvas on which we'll be putting our widgets. So to do that, there is a function called tk, okay? But this one has to be assigned to a variable which will be the name of our screen. So for this purpose, we're going to, so since we are doing a program about messages, I'm going to call it msg, then I'll say up, okay? Yep, all right. So Control S, F5, right, it's executing, nothing is happening yet. So there are several properties that you can set for a window application, but one of the most important ones is we need, once we've created the screen, once we've initialized it, we need at a certain point to show or to tell it where the execution of code within that block ends. So to do that, we have to use a function called main loop. Now this is a very important function. It does more than what I've just explained in the background. It handles events. It's quite complex. You can look up it's a documentation on tkinter. But for now, we'll just use it for that. So it starts there and it ends there. And for us to see that it actually ends there, we can actually put a print statement. You can say, all right, program ended above this line. Right. You see, it has created this window. So now if I close this, it means, so in other words, what it's actually saying is that at that point where we've put the main loop, that is where the program ends, and then it executes the line of code immediately below the main loop. All right. Now that we've done that, everything else that we'll be doing pertaining to this window will be done within this between this in this block of code, in this section of code. So now that we've created that screen, there are several things that we can do to it. We can add, for example, we can add a title. So we're going to call this popular. Let's put that one capital P. Popular messaging applications. Popular messaging applications. Okay, so you can see now our window has got a title which is more meaningful than just having that TK. Okay, we can do several other things. We can say, all right, we can define the size of this window up front. So to do that, we use geometry, okay, and you have to specify the dimensions. So for instance, we can say, all right, we want this 520 by 520. Okay, so if we execute it, that is the size that it has given us. Okay, let's make it slightly smaller, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, it is slightly smaller now after we've changed those dimensions. For now, we won't be using this, but it's one of the functionalities that we want the other the sizing will use other considerations to size our as a matter of fact, the sizing will depend upon what we put inside. Now, looking at the app that we reviewed earlier, we saw it's got a number of sections. So we are in this lesson, we are going to develop the first section and see how it's done. So it's also important during the development just to put comments. You put comments using the hash key. Just because the comments will help with the documentation of so that if somebody else comes to look at the program, they'll be able to understand from the comments what the developer was trying to do. So in Tkinter, there are so many widgets that can be used to develop application, and one of the first one we are going to encounter is a frame. So the idea of frames, the goodness with using frames is that when you declare a frame, you can put several other widgets inside that frame, and there are certain things that when you apply to the frame also apply to the child widgets inside the that frame. So that's the reason why it's good practice to use frames to group common or related widgets. So we are going to create a frame, and the first frame we are going to create, we'll just say first, instead of frames, I'm going to call it container, and this one is actually a frame object. So this is the user defined okay, so I was putting this under okay, let me just put my comment here. In my comment I'll say first container. All right, so this is the user defined name that is assigned to this frame, and then we can specify what we want the properties of that so what we want is that the first frame, okay, it is going to be contained, it is going to reside inside that application. Okay, there are several other properties that we can set. Let's say background color, we can set it as an example to yellow. Let us just see. It's not a good color, but let's just see. All right, what is the problem? Okay, we added them. All right, let us just all right, so there's nothing that is happening because even if we've declared that frame, we haven't placed it anyway. So we'll see how that is done. I think I was running ahead of myself. Let us just set up a few other properties ahead of time, or maybe before we do that, let's just place it somewhere on the screen, and then based on that we'll be able to define what we want for it. So to place widgets on the screen, there are several commands that one can use. There's grid, there's place, there's pack, but for our purposes we're going to use grid. Grid is quite easy to handle because all it says is that on the screen, on the canvas, I want to place this object on row number, so you specify the row number. So in this case we want it to be on row 0. Okay, and you also specify to say I want this on column 0. Okay, so if we now execute this, we should be able to see. All right, but you see, because there's nothing inside, it's a bit of a tricky situation to see, because it's just a frame, there's nothing inside. So what we are going to do is we're just going to add something in this frame. So let us quickly add let's say we want to add labels, right? So let us add a label called app code. Now the labels, I'm going to call them label equals, so this one I'm actually is a label widget, and label widgets have got values like text. Okay, what is the text for this one? All right, so this one is app code. Okay, what other property do we want to change? Okay, for now let us just do that, and let us also place it. So we are going to get this, and then we place it. Okay, we say grid. So inside this frame, we want this placed on row number, row equal sign 0, and column 0 as well. So if we run this now, okay, there is a problem. All right, what is the problem? All right, we need to put an equal sign there. All right, so you can see, okay, but I think we have let us just set other properties which will help us to visualize what we are trying to do. Let us add a few properties. There's a property called border width equals 1. We can put another number there. Relief, okay, equals raised. You can change so many properties here. You can change the font, you can change a number of things. So let us just run F5. Okay, we still can't see that, but let's change this one to blue, maybe. No, let's say cayenne. Let's see that what is going on. It's not looking nice at all. All right, let us just add these same properties to our label. So I was emphasizing the property of the frame. We actually don't need so for this one, as a matter of fact, we don't need the background. All right, so now we can see that boundary there. Okay, so let us just set the properties nicely, and then from there we should be able to so there are a number of properties that we are going to so there's a property called anchor, small w, so we are anchoring it on the left hand side. Let us also set a column width. We are going to set it to 45. What other property? All right, let's just see those properties and see how it looks like. All right, so you can see it's still not looking beautiful, but what other property can we set here? I think 4. All right, so that is where we've placed our label. What else can we do? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create 3 labels. So let us just copy those 3 labels based on that app that we already saw. So the next one is name. The third one, oh sorry, we also need to put here name. Name. And the third one is users. Users. App users in millions. Okay, this is app name. All right, so this is on row 1, row 0. So this one we're going to put it on row 1, and this one we are going to put it on row 2. So if we run it now, you can see that we've placed it nicely like that. The other thing that we can do is we are going to create, because I can see those things are kind of placed very close to each other. So you are going to say pad X. Okay, we are going to use 5. In other words, you are padding it with spaces between the objects, but what you're doing is you're doing this in pixels. You're using pixels. So these are measured in pixels. So it's on the y-axis and on the x-axis. All right, so you can see some spaces have been created around that first one. So we can just copy this. So the idea is that when you are doing this, it's better to work on a few objects and refine the appearance before you go much further, so that you don't have to do a lot of rework. All right, that is looking good thus far. So the next thing that we can do, so we've done that, we are happy with that. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to for each of these labels, we are going to create an input. Sorry, this one is supposed to be labels. All right, so now we are going to create input. What can we call them? Input boxes. All right, input boxes. So what we're going to do, we can actually let us just copy one of them, and then we'll quickly change them, and then all right, so this one, because that was a label, for the entries we are going to call them texts. All right, so that is the same thing, text. All right, so to do that widget, you use is called the entry. All right, the only other thing that you specify is the placing. So where is this placed? As a matter of fact, what we needed to do, I think for this one as well, we needed to place it here. This we are placing this inside that container. So I'm sorry about that. Sorry, we need that. We need that. Okay, in here you need to place it there. So the entry has got no input. There is no text because we are just capturing something. Let us just look. Everything else will remain the same, and then we can now place it. Where are we going to place it? I think the only other thing that we can do is all right, I think okay, we've changed that. All right, so we are going to place this. We want it to be next to the label associated with app code. So to do that, we know that this is on row 0, so we want to keep it on row 0, but then we want it on column 1. All right, let us just try to run it. So you can see that now it is so this is the input box for the app code. So you can see it is next to the code. So the description is associated with its appropriate input box. So what we are going to do quickly for time, we are going to copy that. We are going to copy that. And place it there. All you do, so this makes it cuts down on your development. So once you've done something very well, you don't need to so you can utilize the power of copy and paste, and then users. So this is on column 1, this is on column 1, but this is on row 1, this is on row 2. So if we run that, all right, so our app is looking good so far, and then we'll just continue to build on it in subsequent lessons.